Hey, I'm Olivia,
And hey, I'm Dad.
and you're listening to Soarin' Around WDW. Happy Wednesday, flight crew. We are back this week to talk about the second half of our Disneyland adventure over Valentine's Day weekend a couple of weeks ago. In the first episode of this recap, I talked all about our travel day and my Every Ride challenge and went into the nitty gritty of every little detail for all of y'all that were interested in how that worked, kind of what I did and my path, everything like that. So that is already up. If you haven't listened, please go check that out when you have the chance, because I think it was an interesting episode. I got a lot of good feedback from people. In other news, we are also up on YouTube with some vlogs, which is very exciting. As of last week, we do have our first pack and prep video. And this coming Friday, which will be March 6th, we do have our second video, which is the travel day vlog. And that gets all into me traveling over from Raleigh to LA, all of those adventures, finding out about the different rides being open or closed for the Every Ride Challenge, just the chaos of all of that, and packing my park bag. So that is coming up this Friday. So please check out those vlogs if that kind of content interests you. And today we are going to get into the third, fourth, and fifth day of our trip. Originally, I had planned for Maddie to be here with me, but unfortunately, he is sick. And so he has basically no voice right now. He is trying to rest his voice, get some rest and recover before he goes back to work this week. And then we are heading to Walt Disney World. So we really want him to rest up and get better. And talking on a podcast for an hour would not help that. So I'm going to put in a couple of comments from him about things throughout our time in our trip. And y'all just get to hear me for this episode today. So I'm excited to get into all of it with you. Starting off on day number 3 of our trip, this was the day after the Every Ride Challenge. And this day was actually Valentine's Day. So this was Saturday, February 14th. I headed over to Disney California Adventure for a little bit of a delayed morning because Maddie had a morning session for his conference that he had to attend. So he went to his conference. I got to sleep in a little bit and hang out, repack my park bag for this day because what was required for every ride was definitely not what I needed for Valentine's Day. And the weather this day was pretty nice. It was still highs in the 60s or like low 70s, and then the lows in the 50s, low 60s. And so perfect, really, honestly, weather all day. So I did actually do a little bit of an outfit change because in the evening, it got a little bit chilly, but for the daytime, it was warm enough to wear short sleeves. So I did have to get all of that kind of in the park bag and situated before I left the hotel. And then Maddie was kind enough to meet me over at DCA because at Disneyland, for those of y'all who do not know, you can't select your lightning lanes for that park until you scan into the park. And all members of your party must be there, be present to scan in. The way that they do their check-in at Disneyland is instead of a fingerprint, it is a face photo. So they will take a face photo at the beginning of your trip for every single member of your party. And yeah, that way they know who is there. You have to all check in and be present again in order to select your very first lightning lane. So if you don't get to the park until 2:00, you can't select your lightning lane until 2:00. At Disney World, you can select them a week in advance if you are a hotel guest, plus or minus some days, depending on when you check in. It's basically from your check-in day. And if you're off property, you can still do it 3 days ahead. Or if you're like an AP coming over for the day, like a local, you can do it 3 days ahead and stack those lightning lanes. So you select 3 at a time at Disney World. At Disneyland, it's just the 1. So it does work a little bit differently. So because we knew it was going to be a very packed day at the parks, we decided to get lightning lane multipass this day. And it was well worth it, let me tell you. But in order to make it worth the money that we paid for it, we didn't want everything to be sold out if Maddie waited until after his second session. So he very kindly walked a mile over to literally scan in and then a mile back for his second session, just so that I was able to select our lightning lanes and start stacking them for later in the day when he would be back over in the parks. So we arrived to DCA. I got to security about 9:30, and then I was waiting outside the park, and the lines were insane. I can't wait for you guys to see this video footage on this vlog day because the lines were insane. If you follow us on Instagram and you were on Valentine's Day, I posted a story about it, just like how busy it was. And they were like rope drop lines. However, it was already almost 10 o'clock. So I just could not believe how busy it was. I mean, I knew it was going to be busy, but I guess like how many people were coming to the parks late and things like that. And I'm sure, again, this is a locals park, so people were driving from wherever and didn't arrive until that time. But it took a good while to kind of get up towards the front of the line. So Maddie came and joined me, and I walked into the park at 10:04. I think I lined up to go through security at 9:40. So yeah, it took like 20 minutes to get through security, which is wild. But Maddie literally scanned in and then immediately exited, went back to his session. And I had one goal in mind for this morning at DCA before I was going to park hop over to Disneyland. And that goal was to order a cinnamon roll macaron, as my friend Virginia says, however you properly say it, at the cappuccino cart over near the like bay area before you get onto Pixar Pier. And I walked up to the line, and here is a hot tip. I know a lot of people know this, but for those of you who don't, mobile order. Check it again and make sure that whatever time is initially listed, sometimes earlier times pop up. I basically got in line at, right away, right then at 10-ish o'clock, 10:05. And I was standing there, and the mobile order initially said like return at 10:40. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have anything to do. I'm not going to like come back at 10:40. So I'll just stand in line. Well, the line was really long, and so I wasn't moving much, and I just kept kind of refreshing the app, and a time popped to come back at 10:25. By this point, it was 10:14, so I'm like, that's probably how long I'd be standing in this line anyway. So I hopped out of line. I mobile ordered because that's literally all I wanted was that and water. So did that and just chilled and kind of enjoyed the nice weather, people watched, hung out, got my delicious breakfast, and ate it sitting in front of the Mickey wheel. If you guys have not been to DCA, the vibes of DCA, Pixar Pier, at night especially, but all day, are just unmatched. It is so chill in the early morning, in the evening. It is just the most beautiful place to sit and relax. I love it. It's like my favorite place in both parks to hang out and just have some quiet time, which is rare for me, especially after my very busy day the day before. But this is one of the snacks that we absolutely loved, and we ended up doing a little bit of a snack run over these few days. So that is high up there. If you like cinnamon flavor, cinnamon roll, or macarons, please try this next time that you are at DCA. It is delicious. After that, I had a big goal in mind, and that goal was to get over to Disneyland and do two things that I had never done before. The one was the Enchanted Tiki Room. I had never done Disneyland's version. I've done it at Disney World a bajillion times, but I had not done this over at Disneyland. And since that was the original, that was definitely a goal of mine, was to go over and get that done. The other thing that I really wanted to do was Walt Disney: A Magical Life. And that is the newer Disney animatronic show that opened over the summer for the 70th anniversary. When we were there, it wasn't quite open yet. It opened in July, I believe on July 17th, like the park opening day, that also debuted. But I had also not ever seen Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. However, when I walked through, I looked at the app and it said that the Walt show was not going to be open. It was temporarily closed for the rest of that day. And there were hours the next day from 2 to 8 p.m. So I was like, okay, that kind of stinks, but that's all right. So I went and did Tiki Room, which, to be honest, when you don't really know where you're going over there, the entrance is not that obvious, or like, I don't know, it's like a little confused. It's like there's this Dole Whip stand and everybody's just kind of hanging out, and then all of a sudden the doors back there like open. So it was a neat little chill area, another very quiet corner of the park, and they do let you bring Dole Whip into the theater, which I thought was kind of cool. So I did not get Dole Whip, but next time we're there, I was like, oh, I would do that and then go sit and watch Tiki Room. That would be pretty fun. So once we finished at Tiki Room, I went back to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and Maddie was still walking over from the conference at this point to come and join me at DCA for the rest of the day. So I was like, okay, I have, he has to walk a mile. So I have about 20 minutes. That's about how long the show is. He has to get through security and all that stuff. So I went ahead and watched that show. And I have to be honest with you, I have never seen it. There are a couple of things that surprised me about it. Number one, how amazing that animatronic is for when it was created. I mean, obviously, Walt Disney and the Disney Imagineering team are awesome, and all the animatronics, like in Pirates and different things, but this animatronic was so lifelike. I remember reading things about people saying when they saw it that they watched Lincoln stand up and they were like in awe because they were like, okay, this animatronic's just going to sit in this chair this whole time. And it is true. It's like when he stood up, I was like, wow, just how fluid the motion was. It really is incredible just how much of a good job they did. And the show itself also really surprised me because of how religious it was. And this is coming from a person who is religious. So, I wasn't like offended by it or anything, but I was surprised that they're like, I know it was part of the times, and that's like a very pivotal thing in history is like the glory, glory, hallelujah, his truth is marching on, and things like that playing during the Civil War. But I was like, wow, this is like old school hymns. You don't see that often in Disney parks. And so it was very interesting. And as somebody who I'm not super conservative, but I am religious, it was just like an interesting thing to see. So yeah, anyway, that was something that really surprised me about it. But it was a nice show. The theater was pretty empty. I wish that I would have had more time to explore the lobby because there are so many really cool things in the lobby itself. Just getting to see some of the original animatronic pieces, or I don't know if they're original, but like animatronic pieces and how they work from It's a Small World, from Tiki Room, from Pirates. That was really cool to see some figures from Pirates. They weren't the animatronics, I don't think, but yeah, and just like all these different pictures on the wall. I only got to spend like the 5 minutes that I was waiting for the next show to start doing that, and I did sit there and watch the little pre-show that like plays on the TV above the fireplace area as well. So yeah, that was a really neat and unexpected experience because I really only cared about seeing the Walt show, and not that I don't care about Mr. Lincoln, but it just didn't intrigue me as much. So I am, a little bit disappointed that Walt wasn't open, and spoiler alert, he actually did not open the next day either, which was disappointing. So I never got to see it again. I won't be back out there for a while, at least nothing on the books for Disneyland in the coming future at all. We will get back there eventually, but kind of what we told our girls was we'll go back when you both are tall enough to ride everything, so 48 inches. And that will be a few years because it's a lot more expensive and far for us to travel to. So anyway, that is what I did that morning during my alone time. I also did go in a couple of shops, and I really wanted the Girls Crew park icon necklace for Disneyland. I think it's gorgeous. I love both of them, and I do hope to get Disney World as well, but I think Disneyland's is actually better. I think the icons are really cool, the way that they did the necklace. So I did successfully find that over in the Emporium, like in the jewelry section there, and I saw a lot of really cute merch that I was so tempted to buy. But if you remember me saying, our suitcases were packed to the brim, and I knew I wanted to get something for my dad, and that was kind of my priority, was like something for my dad, something for the kids. The necklace was something small I could put in my like jewelry case that I had already brought, so I had to forego any other merch, which was hard for me. But yeah, then I headed back over to DCA. This was around 12:20, and met Maddie, and we went over to San Francisco to find some lunch. And when we went there last summer, there is so much over there. There's a lot of options. Again, I wish we would have mobile ordered for Maddie. I had already kind of prepped my mobile order to get food over in Carsland and then walk over to San Francisco. The reason being is I really wanted, I know I've talked about this a bunch on the show, the chicken pot pie soup at Aunt Cass's, because I had it over at the River Belle Terrace in Disneyland last summer, and I was obsessed with it. but they had swapped it out for another seasonal soup. It was not available at Aunt Cass's. And so I was just like, okay, I knew I was going to be having Asian food later in the trip. And so I didn't really want that. So I was like, I'll just go get a Cars like burger. The burger was meh. It was fine. I did mobile order. It still was really busy because it was like prime lunchtime, and it did take a few minutes, even when I said like I'm here, for them to actually make the food and bring it out. But it ended up working out timing wise for Maddie and I. Maddie did get food from Lucky Fortune, which he's had before. And we did get a new thing to try, which were the pot stickers, like the chicken pot stickers from their menu just as an appetizer. And then he did get a bowl as well. And the chicken pot stickers I actually thought were pretty good. Maddie thought they were meh. I will rank everything as far as snacks with photos and videos on a YouTube video in the coming weeks. But yeah, I thought they were decent. I didn't think they were amazing or like life-changing, but there were 4 of them. And I think it was like a good amount for like a little shareable appetizer type thing. After this, we walked over to Pixar Pier and got a couple of pictures of some merch that I was wearing from the small shop 1953 design that I bought specifically for this day, for Valentine's Day. That was super cute, and those pictures turned out very cute. Then we headed over to Pixar Pier, and at this point, I had already stacked a lightning lane for us for Incredicoaster and for Toy Story Mania. Guardians lightning lanes had already all sold out per the app, but I was keeping my eye out to see if any of them popped up in the meantime. But yeah, so we knew that we had those 2 lightning lanes, so we're like, okay, let's head over and go ahead and do our Toy Story Mania one because that was coming up soon. Well, we walk all the way over there, and unfortunately, Toy Story Mania was down. We pull up the app at the same time. Incredicoaster goes down, and we're like, okay, great. So we go to walk to Soarin because it said 35-minute wait. I'm like, oh, okay. Guardians was at like 120 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, let's go walk to Soarin. Walk over to Soarin, and they said, so sorry, it is now a 70-minute wait because one side of the theater just went down. So we were just like, oh my gosh, there is so much going on with these rides. Everything's breaking down. There are crowds out the wazoo, like the most packed I've ever seen that park. And it was crazy. So we were like, okay, that's fine. No worries. We're going to just head over towards Pixar Pier again and just kind of see what we can find for snacks. And I had it on my list to try the lemon and blueberry slush thing from the Abominable Snowman's Frozen Treats. And so Maddie is like sensitive to dairy. He does not do great with it. He prefers not to have it. So I was like, okay, this is dairy free, which is a great option. And he was like, yeah, I'm interested. Let's get it. So we just shared one, and it was a perfect size to share. It would have been a little bit much for just like one person, but it was delicious. This one like really surprised both of us. And Maddie said he thinks this was his favorite treat the entire trip, which is surprising to me. But yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. And I think that it's something that we would definitely get again. So that's something that I do recommend. They do also have different like flights of the, like, it's kind of like Dole Whip, but I don't know if it's exactly the same as Dole Whip. It's like dairy free, fruit flavored soft serve basically, but not with ice cream. And they had different flavors that you could get instead of the lemon. I think they had raspberry and maybe like an orange or something. You also could do a flight of those different soft serves. So there were a lot of different options and ways that you could like make it your own, but it was really good. So definitely recommend. After this, we decided to just kind of hang out for a little bit before heading over to try to do our lightning lane for Toy Story Mania again, but it still was not open. So I said to Maddie, you know what? We have time to kill. We don't have dinner reservations until 6, and it is 3 o'clock. The Guardians line says 130 minutes, but I haven't seen any lightning lanes. Do you want to just go stand in the line and like see how long it really is? But like if it is that long, whatever, and we can just like stand and talk and hang out. We never get time to ourselves. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds nice. So we went over there. The line literally did say 130 minutes. And we just kind of like said a prayer as we walked into the line. Guys, this is where it kills me. This line was so inflated. We only waited. We got into the line at Guardians. I'm looking here now. I think like right around 3 o'clock, and we were on the ride at 4:04. That's what time our ride photo was. So it was like an hour, maybe. So it was just like, okay, Disney, don't crazy inflate, or like maybe, I don't know, maybe because it was so busy, they were trying to like deter everybody from getting in that line. But we were in the regular line. They don't have a single rider line there. Again, we did not have a multi-pass. So this was just standby. It was crazy. So after that was done, we're like, okay, we don't have to go to our dinner reservation yet. We still have another 2 hours. So let's go see if Toy Story Mania was up. It was up. So we went and did that. And this was something that kind of frustrated me with the way that the lightning lanes work at Disneyland. Overall, I do like the system kind of better than Disney World, which I know might be a hot take, because I do think it's like more equitable and you have to be there to check in to do it. I know there's situations where like that's not great for people at Disney World, but I don't know. I just like, I don't love that resort guests get so many days over people staying off property, because when you have a split party of people who are coming, like our family who lives in town and they're coming to the park with us, we have to wait to get our lightning lanes with them, or we have to book ones without them and hope that we can like match them up or pay for a service to match them up for us, like Wait Magic or Standby Skipper. And I just like, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb, especially for people who are APs. Like they should get a better perk for sure. So anyway, the one thing about Disneyland that I noticed while we were there that I did not love is that when you get a multiple experience pass, usually at Disney World, they're like, all right, you can use it for everything, like at Magic Kingdom, for example, except for the single pass rides or like Peter Pan. Everything else is fair game. However, at Disneyland, it actually blew me away, like what you couldn't use this pass for. Like it said you could not use it for basically anything good. Like you could not use it for Soarin'. You could not use it for Guardians. You could not use it for, I think you could use it for Incredicoaster, but you could not use it. Let me think about what else was on there. Maybe Web Slingers. And I was like, okay, so what can you use this for? And it literally was like Monsters Inc., Little Mermaid, or like Goofy Sky School. I'm like, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Like, why can't you use it for anything except for maybe Guardians, because it's like the most popular ride? It was very silly, you guys. So I don't know. I just like thought that was kind of dumb and didn't love that. So just be wary if you are a Disney World person going to land. Don't assume that if you get a multiple experience, you can use it on whatever. And that seemed to be the case just over at California Adventure. Magic Kingdom, when there was an opportunity for multiple experience pass, you could use it on basically anything except like Indiana Jones, I think. So, and like the single pass ride, Rise of the Resistance. But yeah, it just like surprised me. So anyway, just a little bit of thoughts there because I didn't love that. After we got off Toy Story Mania, I went and changed because it was starting to get a little bit dark. The sun was starting to go down, and so it was cooling off a little bit. So I changed into my long sleeve sweatshirt, and Maddie and I went and got some pictures taken over at Pixar Pier just on our phones. Then we headed over to Cars Land, specifically to watch the Shaboom changeover. Now, this is something I've heard a lot about and have heard like it's so cute and so cool. And so I like kind of talked it up to Maddie. Let me remind you guys, he likes Disney. He likes to go. He enjoys himself. He likes being a passenger princess on the trips. He does not get nichey things like this. So we did it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. This is so cool. And he was like, wait, what happened? I'm like, the neon lights turned on like in the movie Cars. And he was like, that's what we just sat here for half an hour for. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, no, what? I do not get the hype. Like, what? So he was like very confused at like why everyone thought this was so cool. But like, I did really think it was super cool and it was really fun to watch and it was beautiful, like perfect golden hour pictures and things like that. But yeah, he definitely did not understand the hype, which I thought was hilarious. So we headed back over to our dinner reservations, which were at Lamplight Lounge this night. So we were very excited because we'd never been to this restaurant. And just for y'all who aren't aware, there are two separate menus here. So there is the menu that is for the downstairs seating area and the menu for like the boardwalk seating area upstairs. And you cannot get items from one menu or the other in the other space, to my knowledge, unless people have tried and heard otherwise. From our experience, you could only order off the menu that was for downstairs if you had a reservation downstairs, and only for upstairs if you had one for upstairs. Because it was Valentine's Day, it was packed. I'm glad we had a reservation because they were not taking any kind of walk-ups or anything like that. But We went downstairs because we were the downstairs group, and I had a hard time choosing because the menus are so different and there were great things on each menu. But the downstairs menu was a little bit more like nicer, finer dining. It wasn't fancy, but it was definitely more upscale food. And so we went that night and ate downstairs at like high top table that was kind of like almost like bar seating, but it wasn't at the bar. And there was a fire pit like heater in the middle of the table. And that was, so we were like with other people, like we didn't have our own private table. And a lot of the families, they tried to sit at like the more lower normal tables. It was a little chilly out, but that heater kept us perfectly warm. Like we weren't cold at all. And that worked out really well. That night, we both got something different. I was looking forward to the chicken that was like chicken, mashed potatoes, and carrots. And Maddie got this like beef tip noodle dish that was the chef's special. And I don't know how long it's there for, but if it's there when you go, get it. His dish was awesome. Mine was awesome too. We both really enjoyed our meals, but his was very good. And it was had a little bit of a kick to it. So if you're like spice averse, maybe don't order it. I think like medium salsa is spicy. Okay. So like I'm not like a super spicy person, but I did really like it. It did have that little bit of bite, but it was good. I also ordered the 2319, which reminded me of like pina colada mixed with strawberry daiquiri with pineapple, and like randomly they add Coke in there. I don't know, like Coke soda. So yeah, it was good. It wasn't necessarily the best thing. I don't know that I would pay for it again. Like a lot of the drinks at Disney, I'm like, that was fine. I don't know that it was worth like $9, especially for like it was non-alcoholic, which is what I wanted. But yeah, that was fine. But the food was delicious. There were appetizers and different things that we wanted to try, but we did not get the chance to try because we were like, we're going to be so full and we've already had these other snacks. And so like, let's just hold off. So we did not end up getting any appetizers or desserts here, even though we were tempted. They do usually have seasonal donuts as desserts that I've heard are really good, but the flavor they had that night was like coconutty, and I'm not a big like coconut flakes type person. I don't like the texture. I don't mind the flavor. But yeah, so we decided to pass on that. While we were at dinner, I actually was able to scroll up and swipe and get a lightning lane for Guardians. At this point, we had done Toy Story Mania. We had an Incredicoaster that was booked for nighttime, which is what I wanted because we've never done it at night. And we also had one booked for Soarin' for like on our way out of the park. When I snagged that Guardians, it was literally for like 10 minutes later is when the hour window started. So I was like, yes, oh my gosh, this is perfect. After dinner, walked back over to Guardians to do that. At that time, Web Slingers was still a long wait, and Maddie was kind of like, I don't really want to wait 45 minutes for Web Slingers. It probably wasn't 45 minutes because, again, they were inflating all of the wait times, but we just didn't want to wait that long. So we went over to Guardians, did that. Did our Incredicoaster Lightning Lane, which was so fun at night. That's just such a fun roller coaster. And then we went to Soarin' and did that before we headed out of the park. That was our day. We did not stay for World of Color. We headed out of the park around like 9-ish to walk back to our hotel, which is actually the park closed at 10. I think World of Color was at 9 or 10. Now I can't remember. We just decided, like, I've seen it. Maddie was fine without seeing it. He doesn't love shows where you have to stand the entire time. And we've already been like walking and standing all day. So we were like, all right, let's just go have an early-ish night and head back to the hotel because we knew we were going to be rope dropping the next morning. On Sunday, February 15th, we were doing an all-day Disneyland day, and Maddie was done with his conference, so he was able to come the entire day, which was great. We headed out of the hotel around 6:15. Maddie wanted to walk to Panera and get some breakfast, and I said, okay, you go do that. I'm going to go stand in line for the initial gate open and then security line. So I got in line around, I don't know, I think we got over there like, it was like a 20-minute walk. So like 6:35, something like that, 6:40. We got let into the gate at 6:41, like shortly after I walked up. Then we got through security and I was standing at the entrance gate at about 6:59. My tip for the entrance gate, a lot of people kind of go to the middle or the left or right. Look at where there are less people and go to that side. If there's a lot of resort guests, the sides on the left will be more full because that's closer to the resorts. But if there's not, go all the way down to the left. And also, like I said in the Every Ride Challenge, depending on what you're wanting to rope drop. So if you want to do Tomorrowland, maybe don't go all the way to the left. But if you can get in significantly quicker by going to the left, it might be a smart thing to do. Just look out for that. And I can't remember if I said in the last episode as well, when you're at security, look for the lines where they are. A lot of the lines will look like the same length, but then the actual scanner is farther back or closer. So obviously pick a closer one if the line is the same length as the one next to you for the farther scanner, because that means there's actually more people in line until you get to the scanner, if that makes sense. Just kind of keep your eye out for things like that. If you're trying to rope drop and get somewhere first and be there early, those things add up and make a difference. This day, our plan was to rope drop Indiana Jones. Well, the day before, Indiana Jones had a delayed opening during my challenge run, and I was like, thank you, Lord, that I did not decide to rope drop that. But I did decide to rope drop Indiana Jones the second day because I was like, oh, it should be up. Well, unfortunately for us, it was not. And we were already jam-packed at the front of the Adventureland rope drop. And all these people are like, we're going to Indiana Jones. We're going to Indiana Jones. And we're like, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not open, and I should have known because when I selected our first lightning lane for that day for Space Mountain, I noticed that Indiana Jones no longer had lightning lanes available to pick. And I was like, oh no, that's a bad sign. If it says no lightning lanes available, I don't think they're sold out already. I think that it's closed, and I was correct. So hot tip, if you go to select an Indiana Jones in the morning, it might be out, but maybe go select it because then it will become a multiple experience pass and you could do something twice potentially with a fast pass. Yeah, just look out for that. But I'll put like a picture of that up when I do our vlog for that day of like what that looked like at rope drop. Instead, we were like, well, you know what? This is not like a rush, every ride challenge day. We've been to Disneyland. We were there last summer. Let's go do something chill. We love Pirates there. That's one of our favorite rides, mine and Maddie's both. So we went and rope dropped Pirates, which was funny. We walked right on, which was awesome. And then after that, we're like, let's go to Big Thunder. The wait's only 25 minutes. Indiana Jones hadn't reopened. We did Big Thunder, and the wait was like maybe a little bit less than that. But as soon as we got off, that wait went so high. Then we walked over to Haunted Mansion, and I think the line had said it would be, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that. And it was definitely less than that. We kind of were just weaving our way through the queue, did Haunted Mansion. And then we made our first snack stop of the day. We went to the Mint Julep bar and got the famous beignets and the mint julep drink. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to think about the mint julep. Neither was Maddie, but we both really liked it. And the beignets were delicious. I actually think they were much better than the ones that I got at the Tiana's food cart, which I know people say that's true. I still have heard that the very best are the ones at the Port Orleans French Quarter Resort. I will have to try those at some point, but I did really like these beignets. They were very good, and the mint julep was delicious. This was up there as far as top snacks of the trip. We went and took some pictures by the castle. We went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and then Maddie was like, lunch isn't quite ready yet. It was still pretty early. It was like 10 o'clock, obviously. We were like, okay, let's go do Small World. It's a walk-on. And he was like, yeah, let's do It's a Small World. He actually is the one that suggested it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I love It's a Small World at Disneyland. So yeah, let's do it. I don't think either one of us would ever suggest it at Disney World, but we both love it at land. So we did that. Then we headed to our Space Mountain Lightning Lane, which I had kind of backed up because initially when I selected it, it was like 8 a.m. So I was like, nope, let's back that up. So we backed it up and went on that. And Maddie was like, that's up there for top ride. Like Indiana Jones is still his number one, but Space Mountain is probably his number two. He loved it. And then I grabbed an alien macaron cookie, however you say that, Virginia, from Alien Pizza Planet. And it was a seasonal one. So when we were there last summer, I got this buttercream birthday one because it was celebrating the birthday of Disneyland. But this one was strawberry filled it was like a buttercream with strawberry for Valentine's Day. And I did not eat it then. I actually saved it and ate it the next morning for breakfast. But man, you guys, those alien cookies are good. Like if you like that type of texture of cookie, get it because it was delicious. And they seem to have a lot of these options at Disneyland for some reason. But yeah, it was really good. Then we went on the train and kind of rode it through all of the old Ford attraction. There were all those dinosaur animatronics from that time in there, which I had never gotten to see. I'd never ridden that section of the train. So we did that, and that was cool. It was different to see. It was funny. Maddie was like, man, the ones in Dinosaur are so much more like advanced. I'm like, yeah, but you have to think this was like in the 60s, obviously, that they made these animatronics. So it's a lot different, but they are still there for now. I wonder how long that will stay there, but it was really neat to see. Then we walked back through and had some lunch over at Plaza Inn, which Maddie declared is the best quick service he has ever had, which I was like, whoa, okay, that's a pretty hot take, or at least like the nicest. He really likes a lot of the tacos and different things that he's had elsewhere too, like at DCA. He had some back over in the Paradise Gardens area last year that he really liked, but he was like, this is like a nice meal for it being quick service. So he got salmon, I got the famous fried chicken, mashed potatoes, biscuit, and we both got green beans. He got double green beans, and it was really good. And then we had the bundt cake that was there, which was a strawberry bundt cake, and Maddie really does like a good bundt cake, and it was good. It wasn't the best. It was cute. It looked like Minnie Mouse. The presentation was really cute, but the actual like taste was fine. It was strawberry. I almost wish it was like red velvet or something, but yeah, it was cute. The actual inside of that restaurant is very pretty and very cute. I love that they changed it from a, buffet breakfast with characters in the morning to this quick service delicious meal. That was really good. Then we decided, all right, we're going to be here later tonight. Let's go ahead and go back to the resort. Maddie had a really early flight the next morning, so we're like, let's go repack the bags, make sure everything fits. I was going to keep a lot of stuff to do laundry the next day, but I wanted to make sure I didn't keep too much or give too much so that we both could zip our suitcases. So we did go ahead and head back for a little bit to the hotel. But before we did that, I knew that I wanted one snack in DCA I didn't get to have the day before, and that is the cake shake from Schmoozies. It was a limited time thing, so unfortunately it's not currently available to my knowledge. It does come back from time to time, but man, if that thing comes back, book a trip to Disneyland, because wow, that was incredible. If you like cake batter type things, the cake shake was so good. The actual shake of it tasted almost like cookies and creamy, but like cake. It was really good and blended perfectly. There were no like big pieces of anything that you're trying to eat. Then at the very top, it was like whipped cream and a slice of cake with like strawberry frosting drizzled over it. Wow. I'm telling you guys, it was amazing. And Maddie was like, that cake is really good. He didn't really have a lot of the shake because it has dairy in it and he does not do great with dairy. But yeah, it was really good. So I highly recommend that. After we got done having our rest time, we headed back to Disneyland around 3:50. So we left to go to the hotel. We left the parks at 1:30. So we had about 2 hours of like chill time before we walked back over, got back into the parks right about 4. And we're hoping to do the Walt show. It was not open, as I already told y'all. So we went ahead and went back over to Pirates. We're like, let's just go walk back on Pirates. We really like that attraction. So we did that. Then we went back on Haunted Mansion for a second time. We went over to the gift shop there, looked around, picked up something maybe for my dad for his birthday. And then we headed over to our dinner reservations, which was at Cafe Orleans. This is another sit-down restaurant in that same kind of area as River Belle and a few other restaurants. So the thing about dining both nights were that we had a reservation. The first night we waited about 20 minutes past our reservation to be seated with only 2 of us. The second night here at Cafe Orleans, we waited over half an hour for our table, which I know, again, it's busy weekend, Valentine's Day. I get it. It was fine because it was just the 2 of us. But if we would have had the kids with us, they would have been beside themselves. And if we had never been to the parks, it was a huge chunk of time that we were literally just sitting there waiting for a table. So that's why I don't super love doing sit-down restaurants during trips, because I feel like this happens a lot of the time. Anyway, so it was interesting. And then we did get seated outside. So they have inside tables and outside tables. Obviously, we were like first available because we're hungry and we've already been waiting so long. But the problem with outside, they did not have heaters, or at least they were not on. It was very chilly. So this night it was getting down to like the low 50s, felt like it was in the 40s, and we could feel it. We were very cold. We were kind of like joking, like, we're shivering through our meal and like we need hot soup to like warm us up because it was very chilly out there. Maddie ordered the braised beef short rib, I think is what it was called. And I ordered the very popular dish that like is the reason everybody goes to this restaurant. And that is the Monte Cristo. So you can get the Monte Cristo with just cheese, like a triple cheese one, or you can get it with the traditional like turkey and ham. So the sandwich was good. It was very greasy, which you wouldn't think, but I guess like all the butter, like it is fried. It's like fried. It was good. But the fries that came with it were so good. Oh my gosh. Maddie was even like, he's not a big fry guy. And he was like, these are delicious. His dish though, the braised beef short rib, you guys, I'm still thinking about that short rib. It was so good. It tasted like pot roast, melt in your mouth, delicious, lots of flavor. It had like a mushroom gravy thing over the top, and it traditionally comes with rice, but Maddie got double vegetables because it was asparagus. That's one of his favorites. So yeah, it was amazing. It made me wish I had ordered that with a side of fries instead of a double asparagus, but oh my gosh, it was so good. So if you get the chance to go to Cafe Orleans, highly recommend the braised beef short rib. I know a lot of people go there for the Monte Cristo, and it was good, but it was very heavy, and the short rib did not feel so heavy. I do wish that they had mashed potatoes with the short rib instead of rice if I was going to order that. I'm not that big of like a white rice person with like, I don't know, short rib. That seems like weird to me. I know maybe I'm weird for thinking that's weird. But yeah, it was good. We did not order dessert because we were like, we again been having all these treats all day long. So we were like, okay, let's hold off on the dessert. I did like the restaurant. We both said we would go back. We would definitely not go back in the winter when it's a little chilly and sit outside on a holiday weekend maybe, but it was really good. Maddie liked it a lot better than he liked his meal at River Belle Terrace. I liked my meal at River Belle Terrace more than what I got at Cafe Orleans. Overall, I really like both restaurants, so you can't really go wrong there. Then we headed over to do Matterhorn bobsleds. We had a lightning lane for that, and Maddie specifically asked to do this again, and I said, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, I don't really remember it. And I know we went on it, but it wasn't open last summer. So it's been like 7 or 8 years. And I said, it is painful. So you're sure? And he's like, haha, it's not more painful than like Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom, right? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. We got on that ride. We got off that ride. And Maddie said, never let me convince you to do that again. It was so bumpy. And she's like, I get why they call it the chiropractor or like the bad chiropractor because my back is killing me. And I was like, yeah, dude, I tried to warn you, but like I was down to do it with him. He's like, it also like flies, like that thing whips. And I'm like, yes, it did. And as a Disney history person, right? Like there's so much Disney history in that attraction. It's like one you have to at least like do once, but it's definitely not my favorite. However, again, next time we go, our kids will be tall enough for it and I'm sure they'll want to do it. So we'll be back on it. I did also think when I did the challenge and this night too, like that Yeti is intense. And yes, it is much smaller than our Yeti on Everest, but like holy cannoli, it is loud. So that is something I'm going to have to warn the kids about for sure. After that, I had thought about staying for the fireworks. That was my plan, was to stay for Wondrous Journey and also go try to see Tapestry of Happiness. But Maddie was like, I'm so tired. I have to get up at 5 or leave for the airport at 5. His flight was at 8. So he had to, have that hour to drive over to LAX. And I was so cold. And after going on Matterhorn, it was like super windy and getting really cold. And I was like, I would stay by myself. I have no problem doing that. But I was just like tired, cold, getting to the point where I was like, okay, you're leaving tomorrow. This is my last night with you. Like, let's just walk back. So we actually took the Toy Story bus back over to the parking lot, and walked from there to our hotel, which was cut off about half the amount of walking. I don't think it saved us any time per se, but it did cut off about half of the walking we would have had to do. So we went to bed. Maddie got up very early the next morning at like 4:30 and headed out. He took a shower the night before and I went to sleep, woke up the next day. He had left and I look at my phone and I'm like, oh crap, my flight is delayed. So originally I was already flying out pretty late at like 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 at night. I think 9 o'clock was my original time I was supposed to leave. Well, it said delayed till 9:57. And I was like, well, you know what? My layover was already only like an hour and a half. So am I going to make my next flight? So I try to get on the phone with JetBlue. And of course, you have to pay to talk to someone, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm like, I'm not paying to talk to someone. It was weather related. There was a ton of rain this day in LA. And we had gotten so lucky the 2 days before with like no rain, overall great weather. It got a little cold, but like, not super windy, not rainy, stuff like that, and not freezing. I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to get there a little bit early, talk to someone at the counter, make sure there's no better alternate flight. And I'm not going to lie, I like started to get stuff together to go do laundry at the resort, and I started to panic a little bit. And this is the part where I've traveled by myself. I fly for work for things and to conferences and different stuff like that alone, stay in hotels by myself. But I just started to get like panicky. Like I am very far from home at this point. By the time that I woke up and was looking at all this stuff, Maddie was already halfway back home on his flight. So I was like, I am stuck here. And started to get in my head a little bit, started to have some anxiety, and I calmed myself down. I was like, okay, you're a big girl. You'll be fine. If you have to stay in another night at some hotel in LA near LAX, like you'll be okay. So I went down and did laundry, which was a great perk of the Candlewood. It had free laundry service. So you just have to have your room key. You did not have to pay, like bring coins to do it. You do have to have your own soap, which we had brought Tide Pods and Downy, like Unstoppable scent booster things. I did a load of laundry and in between took a shower, did some editing on the vlogs, and just kind of hung out, watched an episode of Gilmore Girls. Then I got dressed, did a couple of like filming things for YouTube, filmed the room since I hadn't done that when we first arrived because Maddie was in the room when we arrived. I don't know. It ended up being a fine morning. Our checkout is usually supposed to be at like 11, but they had told me they would let me check out at 12:30, which was super nice of them. So I brought my bags down to the desk and left them there with the front desk and decided I was going to go over to do my reservation at Din Tai Fung in downtown Disney, which I was really looking forward to. But the rain was like torrential downpour, and this couple comes in from their Uber dripping wet. And I was like, oh my gosh, were you guys at the parks? And they're like, no, thank God we were not at the parks. Like, I don't know how people are at the parks currently, but we went to Din Tai Fung. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. That's where I'm going. And they're like, do you have an umbrella? And I was like, yes. And they're like, do you have a poncho? And I said, yes. And they said, I would put it on, use your poncho, and make sure you don't have shoes that you don't care about getting wet on. And I was like, oh, because they're like, we are soaked. We had none of those things. So I was like, okay, this is good to know. I changed my shoes into my rubber shoes and put my sneakers in my bag. I dropped my stuff with the desk. I went to Din Tai Fung, and I'm so glad I went. It was very cold outside, so got some hot wonton soup and then had chicken fried rice there, which is one of my favorites. They had this awesome sauce that went along with it that was super good, and there was so much on that menu I would have loved to eat. Originally, if you listen to our pre-trip report, you know that Maddie and I had a reservation for there originally for Thursday night, and then it ended up not working out because of his award that he had to accept. However, I, would love to go back there. Highly recommend it. The service was great. Didn't really have to wait very long at all for my table, literally less than 5 minutes. And after I got done eating there, walked all around downtown Disney trying to kill some time because, again, my car was not coming to pick me up till about 5. And even then, that'd get me to the airport about 6. And then I was going to have like 4 hours to kill until my flight left. So I was like, okay, let's just take my time in downtown Disney. I got some things for the girls. I got some sweet treats to take home. So I got a cupcake over there that was, I actually ended up having for dessert that night. And I got churro toffee and brought it home for the girls and I to try because I've heard great things about that. And both were very delicious. The cupcake was just like a vanilla cupcake with, buttercream frosting or whatever. Nothing crazy, nothing super over the top, but it was very good. And went into World of Disney, of course, could have spent more time in there, but got Maddie a Christmas ornament for next year that I saw and really liked. I got a book about Disneyland and got a little words project bracelet that I had been eyeing for myself. And again, 2 little things for the girls. I got them 2 little bracelets, which were really cute. Because again, I had not a lot of room in my suitcase. So I had to be very mindful about what I was bringing back, which was hard because there was a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, I would like that. But I also had to keep in mind, like, we were heading to Disney World very shortly after this trip. So I knew, like, I'm going to want stuff at Disney World too. I really have to pick and choose here. And everything I buy, I'm like, that's a lightning lane, or like, that's a whatever towards like this food. So I try to be mindful of stuff like that. I do love merch, but I don't want to go too merch crazy. Then I headed back. I actually ended up walking back to the buses and took the Toy Story bus back just to like save money on Uber because it was still raining. Did have to change my clothes when I got back to the hotel because I was still pretty wet. I didn't end up wearing the poncho. I guess that could have helped a little. But even with the umbrella and change of shoes, my upper body still was wet and my lower half was like pretty much soaked. So that's how bad it was raining. I know a lot of people who are locals were posting footage of the parks that day and how crazy the rain was. And it was very cold, very wet. I was really glad I didn't buy an extra park day because it would have really been wasted, or I would have had to try to find indoor things to do. So yeah, that was pretty much it. My Black Lane driver picked me up, took me back to the airport. And at that point we were delayed again. And they were basically like, this is the only flight that we have. And you can stay another night tonight and take out a flight to New York tomorrow morning, but you probably aren't going to get home any sooner than you would from Boston. The problem was the only other direct to Raleigh flight from Boston on that Monday or Tuesday morning was going to be Tuesday night. So I was supposed to land originally at like 6:53. The next direct flight wasn't until 7 p.m. So I would have had to sit in the Boston airport for 12 hours. But I was like, well, at least I'm on the East Coast. I'm closer to home. I could take a train if I needed to. I could rent a car if I needed to. There are other ways to get home if like my flight didn't go out. It still would take just as long as sitting in the airport for 12 hours, but there were options. I decided to take the risk. We took off. I asked the flight attendant if there was any way that they could like say, you know, there's people trying to make tight connections, let them get off first. And she was like, no. I did not have a great JetBlue experience this time, you guys. Anyway, the actual flight was uneventful. I fell asleep. There was a lot of turbulence because of the storm, like getting out of California. But once we got up and out, about an hour into the flight, I was asleep. Maybe a little later than that. Maybe it's like an hour and a half because I did watch an entire movie. I actually watched that newer, I don't know, like Colleen Hoover movie, Regretting You. It was really dumb. I like rom-coms like that. I didn't read the book. I don't really love her writing style except for Verity. That was awesome. But yeah, it was really not great movie. But it was like something easy to like watch, and I didn't have to super pay attention to understand the plot, and, you know, could watch it on an airplane, nothing crazy inappropriate or anything like that. There's nothing like watching like The Notebook and there's like children around you and you're like, okay, these like steamy scenes are a little too much to watch with other eyes here. Watched that. It was fine. Fell asleep for the rest of the flight. Woke up and literally, I'm not kidding you guys, land and I can see my plane. We are at the gate next to it. I see everybody boarding on my flight. And I'm like, oh my God, please let me make this flight. So get off the plane, run to my next gate. And I had my carry-on, so had that with me and had my backpack. I get my butt in that seat 2 minutes before we were supposed to depart. Like, barely made it by the skin of my teeth. But thank you for letting me make it because I did not want to stay in the airport. And it was funny, the lady who flew from LA to Boston with me was like, well, what are you rushing home to? Your husband, your boyfriend? And I was like, well, yeah, my husband, but also my kids. Like, we've been away on this trip. I haven't seen them all weekend. And they're like, oh, enjoy this kid-free time. Like, you'll never get this very often. I was like, I mean, I hear you, but like, I'm ready to be home, lady. I don't want to sleep in the Boston airport for 12 hours or whatever. Like, that's just no, thank you. So I'm really grateful that I made my flight, got home in time to like take a little nap before I picked up the kids from school in Carline. And went and picked up Blake from daycare. They were both so happy to see me, which was so great. That's always the best part about coming home after a trip, is when they're like super excited to see you at the end. That was it. That is everything from my trip. Overall, we had such an amazing time and really loved having that quality time, just the two of us. Maddie and I really enjoyed the slower pace of the park days and not having anything to like super rush around to, which is not common for me, because when you spend so much money and you're not an AP, it's like you want to get things done. And when you only go once or twice a year, there's things that you really want to do that you don't want to miss out on. This next trip for Disney World is not going to be as chill. It's definitely going to be a little bit busier. There will be chill times, but we do have a lot packed into this trip. And that recap will be coming, or the trip pre-trip report, I should say, will be coming next week on the podcast. And then we're going to take a little bit of trip content break for a week to jump back into the Haunted Mansion before we get into the rest of the trip, like post-trip recap. We have a busy month. March is a lot of birthdays. Our dog Nike is turning 13. Eiley is turning 7. My mom's birthday is this month as well. My niece's birthday is this month. So we just have a lot of stuff going on in March. So content is going to be kind of like plugged in as we can plug it in. But yeah, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I am really looking forward to editing the vlogs and getting them up there for you guys to see on YouTube. I am trying to do it every 2-week release for new vlogs over on our channel. And again, that next one is coming out this Friday, March 6th. So stay tuned. And when this episode drops, we will be getting ready to head out for Disney World. So that's exciting. But yeah, please let me know if you have any questions about Disneyland, about Disney California Adventure, about our experience with Lightning Lanes on a busy weekend, or about where we stayed, the Candlewood Suites in Anaheim. We would stay there again. I don't know that I'd stay there with the kids. It wasn't like my favorite place to stay, because it is still a little bit of a distance of a walk compared to some other comparable places that are closer. But yeah, it was a nice place. There was nothing wrong with it. We had no issues. The staff was great and very accommodating and friendly. So loved that. Loved the free laundry perk. And yeah, so that is it. We will see you guys next week. Bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram at SoarinAroundWDW Pod, where we share fun reels, throwback photos, and dive into weekly polls and debates. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to follow and hit that 5-star button. If you are over on YouTube, subscribe and leave us a comment as well. If you're listening on Apple, a 5-star rating and a written review would mean the world. You can also now support the show through our Patreon at patreon.com/SoarinAroundWDW podcast by becoming a free or paid member and finding exclusive content and bonus episodes and videos there too. Thanks again for joining us. Catch you on the next flight.